What's up, everybody? You know who I am. You're obviously on some kind of streaming platform, but today you might not actually know what we're doing. And don't get me wrong, we're always talking basketball here.
Splendid. Brilliant.
But today, it's not just going to be myself. Today's going to be a collaborative video. So I actually got a chance to do a video together with Clutch Takes. He's another YouTuber, puts out some good stuff. So make sure to go give him a subscribe on YouTube if you enjoy the kind of things that he talks about. He covers a lot of not only Raptors stuff, but just general sports stuff as well. And it's pretty good. So if you like the points that he's making today, yeah, go give him a follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right. So today's topic is breakout candidates for the Raptors' upcoming season. There's gonna be a few guys on here that I feel like people are expecting, maybe like a few names on here that people aren't expecting. Either way, it's a whole lot of fun and it's always a good time and to look at the guys that really could take the Raptors over the top this season if they have great years. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as far as breakout stars go for the Raptors for this upcoming season, I feel like the obvious one really is the obvious one here, right? It's OG Anunoby, right? He has been, I feel like, on a lot of people's radars, especially Raptors fans, but I feel like even around just kind of casual NBA circles now. I was reading like a lot of articles leading up to the season of like awards predictions and stuff like that. And I feel like you'd actually be surprised how many people have OG Anunoby on the radar to potentially be a most improved player candidate.
Yeah, I think OG has a lot of potential, honestly, that he hasn't shown quite yet. I think this season is really important for his development. I think he needs to be more involved in the offense. Sometimes he's been too much of just catch and shoot or not too many plays run for him. Like, I feel like we need to run some more plays for him. And now that like Ibaka's gone, Kyle can feed him more. Yeah, I feel like OG, like, he slimmed down. He looks more fit. He improved his handles in the bubble. He's working with Matt Thomas on his shot. I think he has, like, he could average at least 15 a game. I feel like I could see that.
Yeah, for sure. You actually touched on a lot of points that I was going to bring up as well. With OG, obviously, when it comes to, being a most improved candidate, it's obviously going to be his offensive game, because defensively, I said in one of my previous videos, and I'll reiterate it again, I really think OG should have been all NBA's second team for all defense last year. I think Kawhi kind of got there on name value, and I thought OG was actually better than him. And I honestly think at this point, OG Anunoby is probably the best defensive player on the Raptors. I really think he is that good. But with him, you're completely right. It's about the offense. If you're a Raptors fan, you want to see OG take the jump from, I think right now he's around like a 10 points per game scorer. You want to see him around 15 to 18, I think. I think that's the benchmark for what Raptors fans want to see from him. And I think the big thing, you mentioned it as well, I think his handle is noticeably better. I think he can put the ball on the floor a lot better. And I think that's actually going to contribute to him growing a lot on the offensive game. Like, if you've been watching the preseason, he had that one highlight against LaMelo Ball where he put the ball behind his back.
Yes.
Yeah, took it like right to the basket. And like, I was just sitting there, I was like, oh my God. If we can get that from him consistently this season, I think OG will have no problem, taking that next step on the offensive end and really elevating his game.
I feel like OG, he definitely got snubbed on the all defensive team. I feel like he's low key like a top 10 defender in this league. Like, I don't know. He should have at least made a second team or something for all defense.
I completely agree. The one thing that I really liked from watching the bubble basketball last season was I thought OG kind of found like a really cool niche as a small ball big in that Celtics series. They played him a lot, like specifically at the 5 to match up with Daniel Theis, because Marc Gasol was just too old and slow at that point to, like, with all due respect, to keep up with Theis. So Nick Nurse experimented, and he said, screw it, let's try OG out as a small ball 5. And I think against certain teams, at least, I think the Raptors should actually expect to see a lot of that, especially with Ibaka and Gasol being gone, and Chris Boucher really being like
your only like really viable option off the bench in terms of big men. And mind you, we'll get to Boucher later, but I think OG is going to see an expanded role. And I do think part of that is going to be the fact that I could see him playing a lot more of the 4 and maybe even the 5 this season.
Yeah, I mean, I like him honestly more as like the wing, as like a small forward, power forward type of guy. But
Mhm.
I agree he can do that. He even said he could run like 1 through 5, like him and Siakam are like interchangeable. I
Mhm.
saw that quote. But yeah, OG, if he's playing the 5, I would want him to play against smaller guys like Daniel Tice or stuff like that. I wouldn't want him obviously against like the Joel Embiids or the DeAndre Ayton's, guys like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like it's possible for him to be the 5, like in the Boston series against smaller bigs.
Yeah, I think with OG, like in that regard, what he really has going for him is he's actually just really strong on the defensive end, especially. So like that's what kind of like really helps him kind of hold his own against like maybe some of these more like smaller but like super mobile bigs. So that's where I see an expanded role where I really do think OG is gonna have a huge impact on the Raptors season coming up. I think he's really gonna flash what Raptors fans have been waiting for a while. I think a lot of people like following this team have compared him to quote unquote baby Kawhi, and I think we'll see a lot of baby Kawhi. I think OG's ceiling for the season really is like a 2014 version of Kawhi. Obviously not the version of Kawhi that we see now that's a superstar in today's game, but like the version of Kawhi that was on that Spurs team and that was a finals MVP based on his strong defense and ability to score the ball.
Yeah. Also, an underrated like thing that might be forgotten about is we need OG to be like healthy this season. Like OG has had a little bit of a history of being hurt. Like when we won the championship, he did not play like a single minute in the NBA playoffs. Yeah, I feel like OG, he learned from Kawhi, obviously. Like he's trying to emblem what he was. And I don't think he has like, I feel like he needs to develop more of a mid-range to be like Kawhi like, but I feel like right now a realistic player comparison I think is like Robert Covington, because he's like a great 3-and-D player.
Mhm.
But I feel like he can have more offensive upside than that though. I feel like when he's sitting in the corner too much and just being a 3-and-D player, you lose value in him. And especially now that we need more scoring, that's like the Raptors are still an elite defensive team this year. We need the offense, so I feel like he definitely should be getting more shots this year to prove what he can do.
For sure. And you talk about needing more offense, and it's a great segue to the next guy. I feel like it's kind of cheating to include a rookie as a potential breakout candidate, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Malachi Flynn has been so damn impressive in like the brief stints that we've seen in the preseason that I think everybody is super excited about what we got so far. I think there's a lot of hype already that Malachi Flynn could have potentially been one of the steals of the draft. And my thing with Malachi is I do want to like kind of temper expectations a little bit, because obviously in preseason he kind of gets a bit of an extended look because you're playing your bench guys more, and yeah, it's a preseason game, right? But I do think that he's somebody that's going to have a chance to really nail down kind of that bench point guard role and be the primary contributor in that spot. And I think in somewhere about like 18 to 20 minutes in a night, Malachi Flynn is going to have a big impact every single game he's in. He's obviously built in the same mold that the Raptors love in terms of their point guards, in terms of Kyle Lowry, in terms of Fred VanVleet. He plays a very similar style of game, and I think that's going to bode really well for him. And I think he's going to be somebody that really impacts this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't watch any like college highlights of him, like our games before we drafted him. But my initial impression when we drafted him was like, oh, another small guard in the backcourt. Like, and also since we drafted him and Jalen Harris, I also thought like Terrence Davis would be gone. I mean, he still could be because of the allegations, but I hope not, because he's another player I really like. But yeah, Malachi Flynn, a player he kind of reminds me of is like defensively at least is like Pat Bev and TJ McConnell. Like he's so relentless on defense. I did not expect that. You can tell he's really trying hard to make a spot on the roster. And the thing is, he's definitely not like a Patrick Beverly and TJ McConnell offensively though. Like I was surprised with how confident he was offensively too. Like I don't know if you remember one of the Charlotte games, like he was just like letting it fly from three. Like I was surprised. Usually rookies are like hesitant to take those shots.
Yeah, I think he's been really good in that regard. There were already like jokes flying around that like between him and like Matt Thomas, we have our like our version of the Splash Bros coming off the bench. And I obviously wouldn't quite go that far, but you're right. He was really confident about, you know, pulling his shot and taking those opportunities. What I really like about Malachi, and it's kind of a thing that I like about, you know, these guys that spend the extra time in college, is if you obviously manage to land the right one, like these guys that have spent like 3-4 years in college, they typically come out more polished and NBA ready. And I feel like that's what you're really seeing with Malachi Flynn.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy we drafted him. I mean, with like the 29th pick, there's usually you're expecting more of like a bench player or something like that. I was thinking like Desmond Bane or something like that, who went to like the Grizzlies because he's really a 3-point shooter. Like, oh, he can just fit into the system and stuff like that. But Malachi Flynn, I'm happy we picked him because he has more upside than that.
I think, you know, I don't want to say it's a ceiling, but in terms of, I guess, who's already on the roster, I think Malachi Flynn, you know, at some point in his career can just be like a really good six man for this Raptors team. But as he is now, I think he'll still just be like a very valuable bench contributor for the Toronto Raptors.
And a lot of people were saying the Van Vliet thing. I feel like he has like a little bit of Van Vliet in him, but I feel like I would compare him to like other players before Van Vliet. I feel like he is a good leader and good defensively, but the way he plays is different too, so which I think adds a different element to our team. And I'm kind of excited about it. I don't know if you saw too, he had like a few steals on LaMelo Ball, like just like ripped him. He definitely outplayed LaMelo Ball in those 2 games against Charlotte. I wouldn't say he's the better player. Like that's kind of a reach, but he definitely played better those games.
You know what the thing I love too is in those matchups against the Hornets, Malachi Flynn has all of these great highlights from those games, and the NBA Instagram page still has time to find like LaMelo Ball's 1 or 2 like really nice highlights, and like they point those out. And I think all Raptors fans are sitting there and they're just like, okay, how about you show the play where like you were talking about, where like he absolutely just ripped the ball off LaMelo when LaMelo wasn't looking and he just stripped him, or the 3-pointers that he pulled up for, or just like the plethora of highlights he had in those games. It plays into the fact that like Raptors fans feel like the constant disrespect from like NBA outlets and like media and everything like that. But like, yeah, I just thought it was really funny that, you know, they found like the one highlight where like LaMelo made a really nice crazy pass.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, show the highlights of like Malachi's great pull-ups from that game, you know?
It's because they're like reaching, like because LaMelo's box office, it's like the same thing they did with Zion last year. They're trying to show all these box office people for like the next generation when like LeBron passes, like, so it's not like LeBron center 24/7. And like LaMelo Ball had 0 points in that first game, and they managed, like, you would think he went off for like 30 or something with all the highlights shown.
Yeah, it's funny too because
I like LaMelo Ball though. That's like a thing. I like LaMelo Ball. I feel like he'll be a great player, but they're kind of overdoing it.
I find it so funny, just as a quick side note, that like you mentioned Zion, and it's really funny that the NBA is trying to push Zion so hard when I'm just like, bro, Luka is right there. Like, you have your established young superstar. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Zion will get to a really high level as his ceiling in the NBA as well. But like, you have a 20-year-old that is playing at an MVP level. Why are you not marketing him?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right. And one of the last players I really want to touch upon here, because like he's obviously gonna see an expanded role, is Chris Boucher, right? I think Chris Boucher has some big shoes to fill here. He's gonna be he's gonna be stepping into that Serge Ibaka role. Like for me, I think that for that Raptors bench, I think they're gonna be looking for him to do a lot of the same things that Serge did. So like protecting the rim, obviously stretching the court with his shot, and even banging that down low every now and then. Like I think Boucher has that skill set, and he's obviously gonna see his minutes increase this season. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of impact Boucher has. I definitely think he has a chance to be a breakout player, but I feel like people actually think that Chris Boucher is a little younger than he is, because obviously like he's just emerging now, and he is still a younger guy, don't get me wrong, but like Boucher is already 27 years old, which in theory should be like the beginning of your prime years. So I think I almost include him on here because I want to speak it into existence that like Chris Boucher is going to go out there and be your primary bench big and really going to have a big impact on your season.
Yeah, a lot of people do forget like how old he is. Like even I do sometimes. Like he's like just as old as like Pascal Siakam.
I think he's
crazy.
I think he's actually
like 1 year older, maybe. Yeah. I like Chris Boucher. I feel like he just needs to improve a little bit defensively. Like he's fouled a little bit too much, and we always talk about him getting stronger. I don't know how much weight he can put on. Maybe it's just his body type. You know what I mean?
He's got
like I don't think he'll ever just show up like a Joel Embiid or something. Like I don't think like I think we just need him to like not foul as much, hit his threes, and like defend the rim. I feel like that's what we need from him.
Yeah, he has that like Kevin Durant build going for him, but like he makes it work for the most part, right? And he's definitely he's been somebody that's obviously been in the Raptors development system for like a fairly long time. And I don't think the Raptors would have let Gasol walk and Ibaka walk if they weren't comfortable with the fact that Chris Boucher could step in and take over, you know, those guys' roles and like take the minutes that like these guys are going to leave behind. So I have faith that Chris Boucher is going to step up, but I feel like it's one of those things that like I want to see it consistently before like I'm really on like the Chris Boucher hype train, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Two other players I would say would be like, I think you brought up before, was Matt Thomas, and another wild card I would say would be like Paul Watson.
I know Paul Watson is a guy that Nick Nurse was really excited about, and he was excited that, you know, he managed to land Watson on the end of the bench. I think he's a guy that could surprise some people. I struggle to see him getting huge minutes off the bench though, because I just think there's some better guys that could do a lot of the stuff that he can. But at the same time, like I guess depending on the matchup, like he could see some opportunities and he could capture something. Matt Thomas is an interesting one though. I remember I made the video of top 10 Raptors going into next season, and a lot of people took issue with the fact that I relegated Matt Thomas to an honorable mention, which is fair. Like I get it. Matt Thomas is one of the best shooters in the league, and Raptors fans were, or still are, like super excited about that. And I wouldn't say they were like outright mad, but like they were a little pissed at me that, you know, I just relegated him to an honorable mention. And I'm kind of like on the same train that I have been there, where like I like Matt Thomas a lot. I think situationally he brings in a great spark plug off the bench, and I do think he has a chance to, you know, grow into a consistent role player off that bench. It's just for me personally, and I don't know if Nick Nurse feels the same way, but I like guys like DeAndre Bembry that can come in and give you defense and that can be consistent defenders, especially in a system like the Raptors that thrives off of good defense. I like Matt Thomas a lot, but defensively, I think it really he's not good on that end. And I think the fact that the amount of Raptors games I've watched where Nick Nurse just immediately switches to zone as soon as Matt Thomas comes on the court just really goes to show you that Nick Nurse doesn't really feel confident in him as a defender either, because he's immediately changing what he's doing defensively so he can hide him on that end, which in the regular season isn't really a problem, but come playoff time, Yeah, like it really is against teams that like can really exploit the zone and take advantage with their shooting on a consistent basis. You don't really want to have Matt Thomas in there getting big minutes. For me personally, at least.
Yeah, I feel like I'm higher a little bit on Matt Thomas than most. Like, I feel like he's shown a little bit more improvements because he like has to on the defensive end to get more minutes. And in my opinion, he's like a JJ Redick if you give him minutes. That's like my like ceiling for him.
Mhm.
I feel like he's gotten like a bit better like laterally. Like that's what JJ Redick is known for, like those fading away threes in the corner. That's like what makes him who he is. I don't know, like I feel like if you have like you can sacrifice, the Raptors are so good defensively that it's not like you're putting like 2 or 3 liabilities on the floor. I feel like he's gone to the point that you can put him on the floor and you don't have too much of a problem with him. In my opinion, that's what I feel like. I know like Nick Nurse, like the MO for our team is 3-and-D, and like that's what I feel like we need to do to keep our identity. But I feel like Matt Thomas, like he brings enough defensively to like give more minutes in the rotation.
Okay. JJ Redick is actually a really interesting comparison because I see a lot of that too, and I think
It's not just because he's white.
Bruh.
yeah, I think with Redick, he really did kind of quietly. Maybe he didn't grow into like a good, like outright good defender, but he at least consistently showed effort on that side of the ball, and he really showed a willingness to kind of run on the defensive end and be a pesky defender at least. So like I hear what you're saying. If at least Matt Thomas is giving good, consistent effort there, and obviously he's not just the most gifted on the defensive end, I'd be a little more willing to, just see him in a consistent bench role. I agree there.
What did you folks think? Who is ready to take that next step this season for the Raptors? Comment below, let me know what you think. Of course, like the video, it really helps get it out to more people and get more viewers to this channel. Subscribe as well if you can, share it. I always appreciate the good stuff, but don't do it just for me. If you liked the content that like he's putting out and the things that he was saying, go give Clutch Takes a look as well. He's got some good stuff out there. He made some really good points today, so I think he's worth a subscribe. Other than that, folks, that does it for me today, and I am out of here.